that being said, welcome. We would love to know, how did you hear about us today doing these workshops? If you wouldn't mind putting in the chat, how did you learn about this? Was it through email? Did a professor tell you? Did you see, a sign on campus? It really helps us knowing what part of our marketing is working. So we would love to know how you heard about this today. That would be fantastic. So if you'll go ahead and put that in the chat for us. But let's go ahead and kick this off. Let's see. Okay. Again, we're focusing on the humanities, languages, and arts today. My name is Christina Sincere. I'm a career advisor here in the American University Career Center. We're going to have a couple other, another member of our team, Darnice, is going to be joining us to talk about some employer relations things. And we have some wonderful team members also sitting in on this call who will be able to chime in with other things if they think of them. So with that, you're here to learn about internship searching. We want to make sure that this is the best process it possibly can be for you. So with that, as I mentioned before, my name is Christina. I work primarily with the School of Communications students, but my background is in working with students of all backgrounds and disciplines. It does help us out a lot as well, knowing who's here. Of our attendees, if you wouldn't mind in the chat, what's your major? What's your class year? What types of internships are you interested in? I have a lot of resources, and when I say a lot of different places to look at possible things, it's a lot. But like if I can tailor this at all as we're going through or hit on particular things you are most interested in, I would love to try to be able to do that. So it really does help us out if you let us know, what are the things that you're interested in looking at. Obviously, you came to this internship workshop for a reason today. So what are we going to be going over? Things to consider when searching. Sometimes I think that doing some reflection ahead of time is very helpful. We'll talk about things to be aware of to help with your search. What you're probably mostly here for is the how to search, what websites to use, what are other places beyond maybe some of the things you're already using. But we're also going to talk about your timeline. Are you planning correctly for your industry of interest? What are AU-specific resources that you can be using? Other general searching resources, but I think what hopefully will be very interesting to you are some of these industry-specific places that are specific types of job boards and professional associations. And then we'll do a little reminder about what you might need and what you will need to apply. But again, it's really helpful for me to be able to tailor this as much as I can for our participants. So if there's something you specifically came here to learn or that you hope we would go over today, I would love it if you would put that in the chat for us. That way we can do our best to make sure that we're hitting on that for you. So kind of looking at what, has been put in the chat so far. I see Clegg, I see literature, some interest in publishing. So I've definitely got some publishing stuff that I'll make sure to hit on, absolutely. But please, please, please feel free to keep putting in there your areas of interest, possible things you're interested in. If you're totally open, there's going to be a lot of different things that you'll see that you could use in your search, those different types of resources. So please keep putting stuff into the chat. If you have questions as I'm talking, please put them in the chat, and I will try to monitor the chat, but also folks, the staff members I'm working with, please cut me off, and we can definitely address those as well. I see some more publishing and media related things, communication. So again, feel free to keep putting information in there, but we will go ahead and start with our basics. I want to make sure, well, I guess what we hope you'll leave here with today is an idea of when you need to be applying for things, places to search for those opportunities, and then your personal needs versus wants or and wants in an internship, because we don't want an internship to just be like a checkbox for you. We want this to be a meaningful experience. And then how to make AU career resources like Handshake work for you. Handshake is a very quote unquote smart platform. It learns what you like. So the more you use it, the more tailored it's going to become to you. But how do you do that? We'll show you some tips on that as well. So first, we're going to go into, searching considerations. What do you need to get out of this experience? I often talk with students about making sure that you are getting a meaningful experience out of your internship. What we don't want for you is to go somewhere and not have, an idea of what you're actually supposed to be doing, that you randomly get assigned things, you don't know what you're doing each day until you get there. That's not a good experience. We want to make sure that, in terms of what a good internship looks like, there's intention behind it. It has specific responsibilities, duties. It's going to have things that are outlined, projects that you're going to be, helping, supporting. Hopefully, it helps you explore your career options. It should, to have an idea, is this something I'd even want to do as a full-time career? And sometimes it's hard to come to that realization that, oh, I just learned what I don't like. But that's okay too. That's a really valuable experience. I know I had internships like that where I learned, oh, I don't think I want to do this professionally. And then I had to change course. Um, in a good internship, you're going to be applying what you're learning in your classes. So for our folks who, for example, we have a couple people interested in publishing here. Obviously, you've been taking a lot of writing classes. You've been learning what is, appropriate in, different areas of printing, whether that maybe is journalism or for books or maybe academic writing. So as you've learned those things, now you get to kind of apply them in a work context. And depending on your academic department, maybe you can even earn academic credit. A good internship is also going to be supervised. Again, you're not just going somewhere and random people are giving you assignments. You should have someone who is onboarding you, training you, giving you guidance. In a excellent internship, they may even have a mentorship program where you're getting connected with multiple people throughout your organization to learn about it. So this helps build your network. So you're going to learn not only a tiny, piece of a job for your internship, you should get to learn about the organization. What does the work you're doing as an intern do in the greater scheme of things? And then you're developing your skills further. Like this really is making you more competitive in the job market. When you see in a job description that they want previous experience in something, internships help you get that. But it should be a true learning environment. If someone expects you to know everything already, they should have just made it a job. So making sure that, a good question to ask in an interview process is, what is your training like for this role or this internship program? That can be a great question to learn and understand how would they prepare you to do this work. And at the end of everything, you should be able to point to projects or different assignments to say, like, yeah, I did that. Like, I made that contribution, because that's the stuff that's going to go on your resume. So I just think it's important for you all to have a baseline understanding of what does a good internship look like. That way, when you're comparing job descriptions or websites about internship programs, you can kind of pick out things where you're like, okay, that sounds like it's going to be a developmental experience for me. You may have known some of this already, but I think it's just important for everyone to have a baseline understanding. All right, I just want to check the chat. Okay, thank you, Delia, for answering some questions in there. So we will go ahead and keep moving on. So what should you consider before potentially even starting to search? So I'm going to talk through this. While I'm doing that, though, our wonderful student assistant Delia is going to put into the Zoom chat a Word document that actually it's kind of like a note sheet. If you would like to take notes on that paper, you're welcome to download that and kind of brainstorm some things that are going to be helpful to you in your search process. So first, she'll do that in just a second. But I'll go ahead and start kind of working through these. Your career goals. So, what is that ultimate goal? Maybe you aren't exactly sure what that is. That's okay. We also can help with that, exploring, if you're not sure what you want to do. But let's say you do have a goal of, I want to do this in 5, 10, 20 years. Like if you have that idea, well, let's work backwards. What are the steps that you need to do in order to get to that ultimate goal? So because internships are stepping stones. These are smaller experiences that are helping lead you to that big thing. But what are your ultimate goals? And then what are maybe some things that could help reach that? Skill building. Are there particular things that you either want to refine or new things that you want to learn? So again, in the case of publishing or working in the media or things like that, you may have done projects and things for class, but really getting to do something that is going to be published to the public, like having that actual experience, getting to collaborate with writers or work with writers to edit their pieces, whatever that is. But what are the types of skills or abilities that you want to be able to further grow? Those things you want to be on the lookout for in your job descriptions that you're reviewing. Is this internship just because it says that it's at a publishing organization? Is it actually one that's going to give me the skills that I need? Type of work tasks, somewhat similar. If imagine you were going to your internship tomorrow, what do you hope is on your to-do list? What do you actually want to be doing? Your daily tasks, basically. That also is a really good thing to be looking for in the job descriptions as you're reviewing internships, because if you see if they've written in a paragraph or bullet pointed it, that's always nice when they do do that. Are the things that you're hoping to be doing reflected? If they are, then that would be a great thing to put on your list to apply to. If it's not anywhere close to that, is that something you even want to consider? Company environment. This can vary depending on your areas and industries. Do you want to work in a government entity, a nonprofit entity, corporate America? There is a wide range, massive corporations with tens of thousands of employees, which can be really exciting, but also sometimes overwhelming if you like working in closer knit groups. But then there's startups or smaller companies that are a little bit more just easier to navigate in some cases. So do you want that big office environment, or do you want something a little bit more grassroots, so to speak? Then your values. So I see this one more so when I'm working with students who maybe are interested in nonprofit work, or things in like the political spectrum, whether it's going into think tanks or working with, different either political organizations, candidates, that sort of thing. Does this organization or entity align with your values? And there are corporations that don't necessarily align with people's values. I give this example from when I worked at my last institution. One of the really big employers in Virginia, in Richmond, is tobacco manufacturing. I have had a lot of family members who have gotten sick or passed away because they smoked a lot of cigarettes in their lifetime. There were tons of marketing jobs there. When I was graduating, I wasn't going to apply for them. So that's just something to be aware of. Like, does this company, align with what you believe in? Is that important to you? Do you want to promote their mission? And it's okay to realize that something isn't for you. That's totally okay. I know that there's a lot of pressure to just get an internship. There are lots of internships out there. We want you to find one that is going to work for you, as well. Location, huge piece is where can you be? Whether it's the summer, obviously during the school year, DC is kind of an internship playground, so that's nice. But if this summer you're going home, or maybe you can live with a family member in some other, part of the country that's a metropolitan area, whatever that is, what locations are available to you? What is an option? If you had the ability to pay for subletting because this internship is paid well, would you be open to that? Like, those are some considerations you have to think of. And that kind of leads us into compensation. Personally, and I think I can speak for the rest of the Career Center, we want interns to get paid. That being said, that doesn't always happen, especially in government, nonprofit related things. They may not have the funds available, uh, in which case there are some wonderful internship opportunities that are unpaid. But if you're going into like the corporate realm, and they are not paying you, to me, that's a big red flag. But that is a discussion we could have at a later date, one-on-one, with any of your career advisors of, is it worth doing this specific type of internship, if the compensation isn't what you would hope for. But that being said, your work is worth being compensated. I just want to put that out there. So hopefully you've kind of been thinking about what it is, or how you would answer those questions. But we'll go ahead and move on to how to search. So with that, timeline. When should you be looking? How long does this take? The short answer is it varies and it depends, but in general, the advice is always to start early. So you have to understand your industries. So again, I'm thinking of the publishing folks in there because those were some of the first things that I saw. Depending on the organizations, I know there were some book publishers who they already posted their summer internships back in like October, November. But there's other ones, and I actually have one of them noted in later slides that they just haven't posted it yet. So, it's going to vary. You kind of have to keep up on those specific organizations, but in a general sense, your government and like large corporations, usually they're recruiting already 9 to 12 months in advance. So your September, October, November time period is very common to see certain things for that, mainly because government clearances can take a while. But for organizations that will have a lot of demand, like entertainment organizations, publishers, those sorts of things. Some of them want the lead time because they have so many applicants to get through. Other organizations, though, 3 to 6 months. So honestly, January, February, I consider that prime time for summer internships. There's still a bunch of stuff in all types of industries being posted in January and February, even a little bit into the beginning of March, but then it will start to get a little more sparse for summer at least. So that's just something to be aware of. But the fact that you are interested and care about it and you're here, you're doing exactly what you should be. So make a plan. You want to prioritize the opportunities and organizations that are most important to you and definitely be organized. I am a big fan of a spreadsheet. It doesn't have to be complicated, but just making sure that you're keeping track of deadlines, if things are posted. And something that I want to put out there, especially if anyone is like a first year student, sophomore, or even like interested in doing internships like into their senior year. So if you're a junior, if you've missed a deadline for something because you just didn't know, make a note of it because you're gonna be, ahead of the game for next year. I know that's really hard to accept and deal with, but if you know ahead of time and catch it, just keep a record of it. But there will be other things that are out there. But make sure that you've kept note. Um, Devoting time each week. I would say an hour or two of searching, and then it's going to be more time for the actual application process itself. But definitely after you've hit about 2 hours of searching a week, you start seeing the same things over and over and over again. We want you then focusing on actually applying. I would try around, 3 to 5 things a week, possibly more. Like there's just going to be more stuff happening right now. So you may need to do 10 applications this week, 7 next week, and you'll catch, maybe you have to get 10 to 15 more in and done before the end of February. So you monitor that, but if it's kind of a slow period, 3 to 5, but I would probably kick that number up right now. Saved searches are also really important when you can do that, and I will talk about that more when we look at Handshake. Before we get into some of our resources and AU related things, I also want you thinking about what keywords are you using. You get to the job search sites and then it's like, well, what do I put in here? Sometimes your major works, but sometimes it doesn't, especially for our English and history folks. An English internship isn't always something, but okay, well, what do you want to do with your English major? What do you want to do with your communication major? Whatever that is. Is it editing? Is it copywriting? So I like to break it down into, yes, there are going to be things related to your major. You may pull keywords from your major, absolutely. There are communication internships. But if you want to get more specific, what are the actions that you're doing in that internship? Do you want to be doing, copywriting? Is it event planning that's actually the really big interest for you? Again, these are just hypotheticals throwing that out. And sometimes using the skills that you would be using in the internship can be a great search term. It may not be in the title of the job, but you're going to have a hit in the actual description. So if you want certain software for laying out publications that you know how to use, maybe that's something that you utilize. Or if you're really interested in doing social media or content creation with certain software, you might name certain Adobe products. So that's something to consider as well. So where do you search? We'll start with some AU stuff. We're going to look at Handshake, so I'm not going to harp on that too much. AU, we know success. I'm also going to show you that. I think that's a great way to explore what different majors and different areas of study have done in the past. So we'll take a look at that in a little bit. Your different colleges or schools should have a Canvas career site. So if you go under your Canvas stuff, there should be some sort of career resource there, and that can have a lot of different links, informational items, resources. I definitely encourage you to talk to your professors, your advisors, people that, have potentially worked in the field that you're interested in, who are now teaching you. Wonderful resource, because really you can just ask, like, do you have advice for me? I'm interested in this area. Do you have any advice? Do you have any insight to it, to see if you can get some basic information? But just having general discussions with people that are close to you first, you never know who someone else knows. We do have something called Alumni Fire here, which is a way to connect with AU alums. Or if you would like to use LinkedIn, that would be a great appointment. If you wanted to make a follow-up appointment, we can teach you how to do that with LinkedIn, reaching out to alums who maybe work in the areas that you're interested in. There are some different things in the library, and then I am in just a second going to introduce our special guest from the employer relations team, Darnice. But just real quick, you're going to get this presentation after it's done. Anything that is underlined in hot pink is hyperlinked. So when you see all of these resources later, you will actually be able to access these things later. But with that, I would love to introduce Darnice Samuel.
Thank you so much, Christina, and good afternoon, everyone. Again, my name is Darnice Samuel, and I'm the Program Manager of Job Location and Development here at the AE Career Center. And like Christina said, I serve on the Employer Relations team here. So I work with employers to manage relationships and bring them to campus or virtually to host different types of recruiting events with my team. So happy to be here and to share a few ways in which you as an AU student can connect with different employers that we may host here on campus or virtually. So I'll go through a few of the campus events that we offer and break those down. And of course, if we have time for questions at the end, I'll be happy to answer those. So some of the campus events that you can take part in, which are often promoted on Handshake and through our weekly newsletters that we send to students every Monday. So we'll start off with our employer meetups, and these are 1-hour information sessions where you, as a student, can come in person or virtually to, one, network with employers, two, learn about different organizations, and three, get any questions that you have answered right there on the spot. So these are, again, great opportunities to connect, get yourself out there, learn about different organizations that we might host on campus. And typically these are set up as maybe like a 30-minute presentation by the employer, followed by Q&A. So again, a great way to learn and network. Some employers that we have hosted in the past that might be relevant to some of you all on the call here, we have hosted like National Gallery of Art, some Smithsonian Institution, Simon & Schuster for our publishing people out there. So again, we highly encourage you to take part in those. Another program that is offered through our office are employer in residence chats. So through this employer in residence program, this allows you to chat with employers on a one-on-one setting. And the chats are usually 20 minutes each. Again, it's a great opportunity to connect, to learn, and have that one-on-one time with an employer that you might not get in a different setting. So this is a very popular program that we offer. Our students love it, our employers love it. And so when those dates are populated on Handshake, we do encourage you to mark your calendars for when the slots open, so you'll be ready to reserve those slots. And these are informational, so they might not always be recruiting in nature. So again, a great way to learn from the different employers that we might host. Thirdly is our employer pop-up tables program, which is where employers will come on campus, and they're usually hosted in the Mary Graydon Center. So right there in the heart of everything. And As you're walking through the halls as a student, you might stop by an employer pop-up table, and that's another way that you can, again, connect and network with employers in a less formal setting. And those table pop-ups are usually held on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 11 to 2. So again, we highlight those on Handshake so you can be aware of when those employers are on campus. Fourth, one of the fourth programs that we offer are networking receptions, which are industry-based events that we usually host in Constitution Hall. Those usually happen, we usually host them once or twice per semester. So again, look out for those opportunities to network with employers and put yourself out there. And then lastly, our job and internship fairs, which I'm sure you've heard a lot about. We usually host one in the spring and one in the fall, and that is one of our biggest events of the semesters. So I do want to highlight the one coming up this spring, March 27th. That's a Wednesday from 1 to 4. Our spring job and internship fair will be hosted virtually on Handshake. Registration does open March 6th. So again, mark your calendar for that. For the virtual fairs, we want to encourage you all to be ready to register and set your schedule for these fairs. So again, registration, you do that, but you do have to take that extra step to select the group and one-on-one sessions that you want to take part in with the different employers that will be hosting for this fair. So we do hope that we see you all at that virtual fair on the 27th. And next slide. Thank you. So now I'll go a little bit into a few resources that you, again, as an AU student, has access to through the AU Career Center. Starting off with Go Government Federal Internship Finder. If there's anyone on the call who might be interested in getting their foot in the door with a government agency, this is a great resource to use. When you go to the link, as Christina said, these will be in the presentation, you can easily click that link and you'll go to a page where you can filter what you might be looking for in a government internship. Under the career field, you can, for example, maybe select creative arts. That's a tab there that you can select creative arts, paid opportunities, which our office highly encourages. And when I did that, there were about 54 opportunities that populated under the creative arts tab. Paid internship opportunities that you can apply for, some that came up with through the National Portrait Gallery or the National Museum of History, American History. So there's a lot of different opportunities there that you can apply for through that resource. So definitely encourage that resource. Secondly, is Parker Dewey, which you may have heard of through our office, and they highlight micro internships, which are short-term paid projects that you can complete as a student. Maybe something you might want to slide in between your classes or fit into your schedule in some ways. They're definitely flexible opportunities, remote opportunities that you can take on and make some quick cash, but also a great foot in the door with different organizations that are partnered through Parker Dewey. Another great thing about Parker Dewey is that with these short-term projects, you can kind of get a feel for maybe what you're interested in. It could be a way to figure out something you might want to do. So if you're in a case where, oh, I'm not sure what I'm interested in, what career path I want to take, you can maybe pick up a project that's in editing or graphic design. So there's a lot of opportunities on there, and try it out and see if there's something that works for you. So again, micro internships through Parker Dewey. Thirdly, is our part-time jobs near campus map, which is a resource you can find on Handshake under the resources tab. And this is just a great resource to use if you're looking for part-time work within the area. Through part-time jobs, you can secure a part-time job that could essentially lead to an internship or a full-time job. So again, a great foot in the door type opportunity. And there's a lot of retail, food, restaurants and things in the area, Tinleytown, Friendship Heights. So again, those different companies that highlight for part-time roles within our community here, you can find through that resource. And then last but not least is Quad Jobs. Through Quad Jobs, local short-term gigs and part-time work is promoted on that platform, which we highly encourage AU students to use as well. Some positions might include tutoring or dog walking, office work, retail, things of that nature. So through quad jobs, you can secure those short-term gigs, make quick money. But again, like Christina mentioned before, you never know who you might come across through these type of opportunities. So, never overlook these ways that you can find work and make connections. And that'll be all for that slide. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry about that, Dernies. I was
Oh,
trying
no, it's
to
okay.
get something and then it was like, oh no.
No
But
worries
yes,
at all.
absolutely agree. You never know who you're gonna run into. I have seen randomly, because like I get the emails each week I signed up for like what's new. I've randomly seen a couple of things about like reading manuscripts every once in a while. It's not a ton of stuff. It's not often, but like I've
Yes.
seen that a couple of times, which I was like, oh, that's interesting that they want someone to do like minor editing for them.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Sometimes there's opportunities
yeah.
like that, or like I said, tutoring, or
Hmm.
maybe some language
Oh,
translation
translation. Hmm.
opportunities I've seen on there as well. So like you said, sometimes rare, but they're
Yeah.
they're there. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Darnice. I really appreciate it, you
Mhm.
going over those resources for us. Um, so we're going to get into actually looking at these items and how they work, but I just want you to know that like these things are here. These are kind of more general in nature. Maybe you use LinkedIn frequently, maybe you don't, but I definitely, that's probably one of my more preferred general job boards. Indeed, I feel like you sometimes have to sift through a lot of stuff that's just not relevant, or you really have to do some background research of like, is this legit? LinkedIn, I think it's easier to kind of verify that when clicking on the employer. But you also have, Career Builder. I actually really like Glassdoor too. If you're not using Glassdoor, maybe I would encourage you to consider it. They do post jobs, but more so, it's a great way to review companies and organizations. You may also be able to get tips about interview processes or do research on salary. So if you're unsure, oh, are these internships paid? You may be able to go and identify like the title of the internships and see, you know, do they have notes on compensation? So that can be a really, really great thing to use it for that reason. Uh, they are all live links. We're going to take a look at Media Bistro for some of the creative things. We've talked about some government-related things. Even government organizations need creative people. So that's definitely something to kind of keep in the back of your mind. And thank you so much, Darnice, for looking to see what internships on the internship finder. That's honestly a lot more than I anticipated. So that's great. And then Idealist is a great nonprofit searching site. They'll have a lot of communication-based roles, things that could involve writing, that kind of thing. So, then other general things, something I love suggesting for creative folks, is making sure that you are looking at whatever city or area that you want to be, working in. Most likely they have a visit site. So we're going to take a look at the Visit DC website in just a few minutes or just a minute to kind of figure out how do I identify organizations. It's not going to have job listings, but who are the organizations doing things? Who are the culture? Who are the performance organizations, the museums, those sorts of things? Identifying what's in your area can help you then go direct to the organization. I also encourage you to follow organizations on social media. They will post about their internship opportunities when they're open, for sure. And then professional association sites. Who's governing your field? Who's setting the best practice guidelines in your area? often professional associations will do job boards on behalf of their members. So that brings us to our specifics. Obviously, we're not science, tech, and engineering and math, but I just want you to know like all of these things are going to be available to you in this presentation. You may want to check out this education, social sciences, and communications slide as well, especially for the Society of Professional Journalists. I have this pulled up when we look at stuff, but they have a full list of a bunch of broadcast and media organizations. Um, Government, public affairs, justice and law, international affairs, if your interests intersect with these fields, again, you may want to take a look at some of these opportunities, but we're mainly going to be focusing in on the search sites and associations for humanities, languages, and arts, which is the focus of this particular internship. I do want to point out with some of the organizations of interest over here. We're not going to dive too deep into these. I just wanted, again, resources and places to go and look for later. But for definitely your NBC, Paramount, these had deadlines back in the fall semester for summer, just something to be aware of. Sometimes they're still posting positions that haven't been filled yet. So that may be something to just kind of see what's still posted. From what I understand, Warner Brothers Discovery has not posted their internships yet. I haven't seen them at least. So that's I think worth kind of keeping feelers out for. But over here for our publishing folks, Penguin Random House, they did theirs, I believe, back in like November-ish. But HarperCollins, their website says that they still haven't posted them yet. So they are going to be posting, they did not have them up as of yesterday when I looked, but they may be doing that within the next week in February. So that's worth looking at. But all of these things are going to go to directly to these organizations. So with that, we're actually going to take a look at some of the search sites that may be of interest to you all. So real quick, I just want to make sure that I still have the best understanding of what we're looking for. Yep, media, publishing. All right, so just wanted to make sure there wasn't any other information that had come in. So let's go ahead and escape. And I'm going to go ahead and go to this large amount of tabs that I have prepped. Are we good? Can we see that all of the tabs, everything going on? Okay, perfect. So first thing that I want to do though is sometimes it's nice to get inspiration, right? From people who have done these things before. So you can actually go to american.edu/we know success, and this is going to have a bunch of data on what we know, what's been reported from students, what they've done after graduation, but also when they've reported internships or participated in internship gotten academic credit for them. So what you would do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to change to the schools. I'm going to go to the College of Arts and Sciences. So this is for all programs under that. So it's also still pulling from like our sciences and stuff. So you may want to pick a specific major. I will say for smaller majors, there may not be as much data to go off of. So that's just something to be aware of. So that's why I'm going to keep it just to the College of Arts and Sciences for right now. But when you scroll down, you're going to get a lot of different information. Most of the folks from there seem to be working in for-profit organizations with nonprofit, not too terribly far behind, and then working in government. these employers are the people that they went to go work full time for. So that again is still a good place to look for inspiration. We know our students are getting hired at these places, but right, we're talking about internships. So where have our students interned that we know of? Well, if we go down here to top internships for credit and go ahead and click more, you get this entire list of places that the College of Arts and Sciences students have done internships with. So again, there's going to be some science stuff in there, math stuff in there as well, but definitely a lot of our other humanities, arts related things as well. I'm seeing some PR things coming up. As well as we've got, government related things. So it's worth, getting that inspiration, I think. And obviously you can adjust it to your specific area of interest, and get even more specific. But hopefully that's helpful in kind of seeing, well, what have other AU students done? Now, Handshake. So I know you have access to Handshake. I don't know how much you've used Handshake, but I really, really encourage you to let it learn a little bit about your interests. This is a very powerful platform, and it's not just a place where you can look at jobs. We are going to take a look at like how you can optimize that in a second, but something that I don't think enough students use, and I would really encourage you to, is the employers area. And this is great for in the case of, again, I'm gonna use our publishing folks in the room. You can go down here to industry, and filter them. And if I do, I believe publishing, yep, journalism, media, and publishing is one of the specific industries. There's also advertising. You'll get a variety of things. There's a whole list of things that come up, but there are over 11,000 organizations in Handshake that specifically say their industry is journalism, media, and publishing. From that, obviously, we have to, narrow it down, and there are different ways to do that. Definitely location. If we just wanted to see what was in New York, maybe you really want to be in New York City. We definitely want to take that down to, I'm going to actually just take it down to 5 miles. You could try 15 for a little bit wider of a range there. And that's still a lot to look through, over 1,000 things. So I would really encourage you to take a look at employer size. If we have larger-ish organizations, and you'll get more options when you start typing in the number one. I don't know if we're going to have something this large, but I'm interested to see, okay, we do. So I would go with some of the larger ones first to see kind of what their deal is. Who are they? Obviously, we've got our Penguin Random House. We have Hearst, huge media corporations. But if I were to go ahead and click on, Hearst, and start looking through this, I'm going to see obviously the website, and they do have a public staff member, so that's kind of nice. Theoretically, like you can reach out to this person through Handshake if you want to. That's why they put them there. But then there's also students, and these are students all over the country, not just AU people who have worked there, if you want to try and message them as well, to ask about their experience. So I would use the employer section to kind of do a little reconnaissance. But when you're in your jobs area, how can we make Handshake do the work for you so you don't feel like you have to constantly come in and do the same search over and over and over? You should come in here regularly and try different things, but if it's a matter of wanting to be in, Washington, D.C., we're going to take this down to 15. Again, I think that 15 is a pretty good place, and then you can widen that down. Go to all filters when you're over here, and you can go ahead and click on internship. There are a few other things, but internship's going to be your best bet. And then, let's just see specifically paid. You can also click includes estimated pay, and it will only show you jobs that actually gives you a number. That is going to take the number down significantly, just so you know. So I'm going to go ahead and remove that for the time being, and show my results. And I'm going to try more of a I'm gonna try more of like a activity based, search term. So if I put in copy editing, um, now I have 15. So this, again, this is very specific. I put in a very specific search term. If I put in publishing, it may have been wider. If I put in writing, it could be a wider range of things. But there's 15 things that involve copy editing, copywriting. Again, you adjust it. But now I know, okay, I have 15 things to look through to see if I'm interested in any of them. And I would really encourage you, this is the part where we make Handshake work for you. You're going to hit edit my note or you're notify me about new jobs like this, and you can manage your notifications about like how you get it. But now you've turned on a job alert. So the system is going to be like, all right, anytime this criteria is hit, we're going to let this person know about it. So I would set up 3 to 5 of those with your different areas of interest, some different search terms, and have Handshake start helping you out with it. That kind of brings us to our other things. So for instance, if you're interested in different arts organizations at all, go to the visit sites. I really encourage you because sometimes you have to go direct to creative culture, art organizations. They just don't recruit the same way sometimes. So if you go to one of these visit sites and you look up, okay, things to do, now I have this entire list of different things. If I'm super into museums, I'm gonna have a whole list of museums. If I want all of the performing arts venues, I've got all of those. If I'm really into history, I can see anything that has to deal with that. So if I go ahead and go to museums, I can go ahead and look through everything that's kind of in the area, and it's a ton of stuff. I mean, Washington D.C. has so many different things. But then you identify the organizations that are of most interest to you. You can even search by neighborhood here, which is really cool. But anyway, that's kind of my tip for exploring some of these more creative organizations in a specific area. For other creative related things, or if you're interested in the entertainment industry in general, entertainmentcareers.net can be a great thing to look at. Their search tool doesn't really exist, not gonna lie. So what you need to do is you need to sort, you can sort by date of when it was posted, but if you want to really see like, are these in places I want to go, sort by location, and then the cities are the thing that's in alphabetical order. So you could see like, oh, cool, I want to be in Baltimore. Well, let's see all of the different, internship things here. Oh, the Baltimore Orioles? That sounds cool. I love sports. Like, if that's you, awesome, great. Like, this is a way to explore more opportunities for sure. So definitely take advantage of that. I'm not going to worry too much about the American Alliance of Museums because nobody's said anything about museums in the chat so far. Um, American Advertising Federation, again, the writing aspect. I know it's not necessarily publishing, but if you're interested in maybe translating some of your writing skills into like public relations or things like that, the American Advertising Federation can be really good with that. If you're interested in anything theater related, Backstage, excellent place to be looking for opportunities. There's a bunch of different ways to kind of slice and dice your filters and play with that. Uh, Book jobs. So our publishers out there. All right. bookjobs.com. We have a bunch of different things for organizations, searching internships. We have publisher profiles, searching jobs, identifying publishing organizations, a variety of different things. So, um, you'll be able to kind of see, okay, are these organizations of interest? And then I would definitely go direct to them and look around. But it's a decent sized list for a starting place. But I would definitely encourage you all to take a look at that. This is more of our public relations stuff. Nobody mentioned anything about like historical preservation, so we'll go ahead and skip over that. Uh, the Society of Professional Journalists. If you're interested in maybe even magazine publishing or anything like that, we have a bunch of different things for just different organizations that do reporting, other writing, but all of these have either direct links to organizations or additional search sites for things that have to do with writing. Media Bistro, another thing for copywriters, proofreaders, like if you're looking for maybe, again, just some basic experience, you could check that out. Um, and then finally, if you're interested in working with nonprofit organizations, maybe again, you want to transfer your abilities and do grant writing. You could look that up and see if there are any grant writing internships to practice those skills. So I know that was a very quick overview of those things, but hopefully that is a variety of places for you to look and check out. So with that, um, finally, um, real quick, you're definitely going to need your resume. If you don't have your resume to apply for stuff, please come see us for an appointment. We'd love to help you get that ready. References, that's 3 to 4 people who can be contacted about you to give you a positive recommendation positive reference, because I don't want us getting mixed up too much with the word recommendation, because there are letters of recommendation. Those are a little bit rarer. So under our what you might need to apply, cover letter, again, we can help you with writing that. You may need samples of your work, especially for our writing folks in the room. And then some organizations do want a letter of recommendation, so that's someone actually writing a letter on your behalf. Um, so if there are any questions, I know we're right at time. I'm happy to hang out in this room for a little bit to answer any questions. If you need further help, come see us. We'd love to meet with you, talk with you about your interests, and definitely take advantage of our drop-in hours. This spring, we're every day, Monday through Friday, 2 to 3 p.m. in Bender Library, collaborative workroom 6. And we're also doing 2 days of virtual in the evenings from 5 to 6 on Tuesday and Wednesday. So other than that, I'm going to hang out if there are any questions or if people want to put questions in the chat. Otherwise, you will get this information in a follow-up in the coming days. And thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it. But yeah, you are free to go. Have a great day. But I'll hang out for questions. think most people have departed. I do see we still have an attendee, Stella, with us. I don't know if she's typing something in the chat. I'm also happy, Stella, if I can click on the ability for you if you would like to unmute yourself, I could do that as well. But we'll hang out for a couple more minutes and see if you have any questions. Otherwise, we'll go ahead and turn the presentation off in just a minute or two. All right, I think that we can probably call it. All right.
Yeah.
Anything you need from us, Delia?
No. Oh, wait, I'm gonna stop recording.